I wonder, can it be applicable to the Pittsburgh Steelers? Okay? Can it be applicable to the Steelers? So the University of Iowa, and you know how far you got to go in order to fire the coach's son. That's what's happening. So, longtime Iowa coach Kirk Ferentz, who is a wonderful man from Upper St. Clair. I've dealt with him a bunch of times. He's he's always been a great guy to me, and I think he's a good man. So, the interim athletic director, this Beth Getz, she supervises Brian Ferentz, who is the offensive coordinator, because there's these nepotism laws, so he's got a certain sort of athletic director watching over his shoulder. Well, they weren't happy, and you may know this story. They weren't happy going into this year because Iowa tries to win football games 3-0 or 6-3 or maybe even 2-0 at times. So they weren't happy going into this season, and the fans were mad. But listen, this is Kirk's oldest son and a former lineman in Iowa. He's a team's offensive coordinator, has been since 2017. And he is absolutely not going to fire him. They're winning enough, but the public heat was there. So they found a compromise. 25 points a game. That was the provision in the younger Ferentz's contract. Right? You need to score 25 points a game, or you don't keep your job. Well, since 2017, Iowa ranks 98th nationally in scoring 25.3 points a game, but the offense has averaged just 20.4 since 2021. Just not enough. Even though it's the Big Ten and the scores resemble hockey scores more so than basketball scores. She found it within her and said, you got to do this. Well, they still got a couple games left, and she said, listen, it's just not working out. You're ranked 118th right now nationally in scoring offense at 19.5. Even if you somehow get there to 25 points, we're going to call it a day at the end of the year. We're done. Now, this is where the Steelers come in at 412-928-9370. Could you have lived with, before this season started, Matt Canada getting some sort of edict? Can you live with Mike Tomlin getting that, right? What is the downside to this? I've been knocking this around in my brain for the better part of today, at least thinking about this topic when I've thought about this topic. And I want to talk to you at 412-928-9370 on that fan hotline presented by Nemacolin. Around every corner, Nemacolin creates real-life magic for guests. Whatever job you're in, a lot of jobs that you're in, you're probably measured by some sort of metric, okay? Let's say that you're a salesman. I don't care what you sell. It's the old thing from class when you're growing up. And you could sell widgets. You could sell guns and butter. Whatever it is. Whatever that you sell, you're measured by a goal and you're measured by some sort of metric. And there are a lot of different vocations where they say to you, you need to sell X amount of these or you could be in trouble. You don't necessarily keep your job unless you meet your goal, right? They have different metrics in all different jobs. Thresholds that you need to meet, goals that you need to hit, numbers that you need to attain, or you could be in trouble. In this case, they brought it to the football field, to football coaching. You're in charge of the offense. The offense needs to score X amount of points. And they didn't even say the offense. There could have been defensive touchdowns, and this guy would have counted for him. So think about it in that context. But let's say that Mr. Rooney says, you know what, I can't fire Mike Tomlin straight away. I can't do it. I can't. Or even, I can't fire Matt Canada straight away, even though we all know Matt Canada and he's not very good. But I'll do this. Let's say that Matt Canada has to score 22.5 points a game to keep his job next year. Would you be willing to live with that? Like, I think something like this should have been instituted before this year started. And I actually would have been able to live with it. Matt Canada never should have been fired. He never should have been hired, He never should have been put in this position. It should have never happened. But I'm struggling with how this is a bad idea at all. Andrew's in Ohio.